Federal Power-Shok 44 Magnum and 357 Magnum. I'm going to test these today through my 4-inch Smith & Wesson revolvers here. My Smith & Wesson 686 with a 4 1/8 inch barrel. My Smith & Wesson Model 69 with a 4 1/4 inch barrel. Both of these are L-frame Smith & Wesson revolvers at a similar weight. And what makes this test interesting is it is a 180 grain 357 Magnum semi-jacketed hollow point. Our 44 mag is also a 180 grain semi-jacketed hollow point. A lot of people ask for tests like this. Now, they think that it's fair when you do that, and kind of in a way it's not fair. I mean, the word fair shouldn't be used because it's not a competition. We're just kind of comparing things here, but a lot of people like to see the same weight bullets in different cartridges. Like, let's say you get a 135 grain 9mm, people like to see that in a 10mm, even though the sectional density drops down pretty low. So it'll be interesting to see what these do for me, because these are basically marketed as hunting rounds. And our 357 mag is only rated at 1,080 feet per second. So that's one of the downfalls to loading a 357 mag pretty heavy, is generally you're losing power over a 158 or 125 grain. So 1,080 feet per second. Our 44 Magnum is rated at 1,460 feet per second. Now, I think that's through a 6-inch barrel. Maybe not. No, I think Federal does use a 4-inch barrel for their ratings for both 44 and 357 Magnum. So semi-jacketed hollow points. It'll be interesting to see what these will do. So I'm going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy I get at the same time. Then I'm going to do my 10% clear ballistic test. I'm just going to go into plain clear ballistics, see what the best potential of those cartridges are. After that, I'm going to do more of our real world simulation, where I have 4 layers of denim on the first 3-inch piece here that represents our pectoral muscle. After that, I'll have a 1/4-inch medium density fiberboard right here to represent hitting ribs or sternum. That'll be more of our real world simulation. And then I am definitely going to shoot at the steel, see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these, see how hard these things will hit the steel. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up we have our 357 Magnum rated at 1,080 feet per second. I would say I'm about 4 yards from the chronograph and target. I'm a little closer than normal because this thing's been giving me fits lately, so I have to get my shots a little bit closer. I think it's the lighting from the trees. So let's see if I can get a read with our 357 Magnum rated at 1,080. 1170, 1164, 1077, 1085, 1093. So interesting, those first shots were quite a bit higher than the rate of velocity, but then after that it kind of mellowed out and was just a little bit above rate of velocity. So 44 Magnum rated at 1,460 feet per second. Let's see what I get here. I knew I pulled that one, anticipating the recoil, and you never know how hard to grip that until you know what that recoil is. So I'm going to go single action here. 1336. No read. It's giving me fits again. I have to go a little bit lower, so I have to be really careful here. 1358. I'm just going to take those two numbers. So yeah, we're at the same weight, but you know, we're talking upper 10s, about 1,100 feet per second to, you know, a good 200, 225 feet per second faster average, I would guess, with our 44 Magnum. So obviously our 44 Magnum is a little bit more powerful. So let's hit our ballistics gel block, see how these compare. All right, plain clear ballistics, our best potential shot here, 357 Magnum. With that bullet weight and that low energy, I'm guessing we'll gonna get some really deep penetration, but then again, I don't know, because you know, the composition of that lead hollow point might expand out a lot. So let's see what we get here with our 357 mag plain gel. All right, set that with our 44 mag. Take a look. Well, that's some interesting performance. I was not expecting something like that from a 180 grain bullet. That's not something I typically see with bullets of that weight, because that velocity is high enough that it should have mushroomed out massively big. Well, let me try one more to confirm these results. All right, one more time, see if we get the same thing going on. Go take a look. All right, so yeah, I don't understand that. Sometimes we see flukes like that in ballistic testing, and there's not really any explanation as to why that happened like that. And again, there is no explanation because what I'm seeing with that second shot seems about right. You know, what I know about ballistics, sectional density, the type of bullet, hollow point it is, the type of velocity, passing through two blocks makes absolutely no sense. But both of them got good energy dump in that first 3 inches, so that's what doesn't make any sense to me either, though. Those top two shots are the 44 Magnum. So obviously there was some expansion going on. So I don't really know why it went through 2 blocks. So the first one we went through over 39 inches of gel with our 44 mag. But our first shot here, our only shot with our 357 Magnum, we got a pretty ideal penetration of about 18, just about 18 3/4 inches penetration, which is really good. Not a ton of damage in there though. Our 44 mag has a lot more damage that flattened out a lot more because the sectional density is a lot lower. And what we got is about 19.5 inches. So I would not really consider that over penetration either. So it's weird. It's weird. Let's put on our denim, put on our MDF before we call this and see what we get in our more of our real world simulation. All right, 4 layers of denim, 3 inches of clear ballistics, a 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard, our real world simulation. 357 mag, let's see what we get. All right, let me set that back up. We'll hit with the 44 mag. All right, 44 mag. This is generally when stuff starts flying all over. Let's see what we get. More of our real world simulation here. Let's go take a look at that. I called it. All right, so our first piece here really got messed up. Our 357 mag, not much energy dump. Our 44 mag, quite a bit of energy dump. Our 357 mag, it's hard to see now, but it was just a little poked hole there. Our 44 mag through our MDF hit here. There's fragments all over, and it ripped this entire corner off. Interesting performance. And what we're seeing here, this is a phenomenon I see from time to time with our 44 mag of how it kind of, it's interesting the way it's in there. But our 357 mag, it lowered that expansion, so we went to about 21.25 inches of penetration. That's not too bad. Our 44 mag, I've seen this phenomenon a lot. A lot of times when you hit stuff that's very big diameter, what happens is it stretches this gel, and it's going to go to the same penetration depth that it would go to regardless. But once it hits the back of this track here, and by the way, this is 18.5 inches of penetration, because it's such a large hole, it remains open momentarily, and it allows the bullet to roll back in the path there on the track. So this is all still legit. It just rolled back into halfway back in the track. So what we can say is, you know, that gaping wound opened up and caused that, and that's probably part of the reason why this whole thing went like almost flying off of here. It's just hitting that hard and causing that weird effect that I see from time to time. So there's no question here that the 44 mag performed a lot better. However, it's about twice as hard to shoot. It's just not comfortable to shoot, to be honest, for a personal defense round. But that's you know, that's typical for any 44 mag. So let's take a close-up look at these bullets, and then we'll shoot our steel, see what kind of practical shootability I can get with these. All right, so here's a close-up look at these bullets, and you can see a big difference here with our 357 mag versus our 44 mag. And this is where people think it's the same because it's the same weight, but these could not be more different from each other. Sectional density is basically the measurement of the diameter times the, the mass of the bullet, not necessarily times, but it's like a scaling down. So in order to have a 44 Magnum that's the same as a 180 grain 357 Magnum, this would have to be a 260 grain rather than a 180 grain. It'd have to be 80 grains heavier. And we can see what sectional density does here. They both mushroom pretty big, but how much bullet weight is behind that mushroom? Almost none with the 44, a lot with the 357 Magnum. So if the energies were the same, the higher sectional density is always going to penetrate deeper. And that's one of the things why people kind of didn't understand about the Kennedy assassination, is that he was using that Carcano rifle, which has, I believe it's a 25 or 27 caliber bullet, and it's like that long. It's like over 200 grains, I believe. So it keeps going through and going through and going through. So you can hit multiple targets after passing through a lot of things with a high sectional density. Now when we look at our medium density fiberboard shot here, our 44 Magnum lost some diameter, but it mushroomed out really big. And our 357 Magnum just didn't mushroom out hardly at all. So I think we got some tumbling going on, and that's another thing you get from high sectional density. You get some tumbling, you get a lot of curving. We saw that because it's so long, it wants to curve up. So what we got is okay performance though, because the power wasn't super high. If this energy would have been the energy that this is at this sectional density, this would have just passed through 2 gel blocks every shot. But because it is a little bit lower power, it's not a bad choice overall. It's not ideal when we're talking about internal ballistics or external ballistics or terminal ballistics. Nothing is ideal with this, but in the end result in the real world, it actually does pretty good for what it is with the amount of felt recoil you're dealing with. Now this is just brutal, dump your energy very quickly. That is why I was really surprised to see it pass through 2 blocks. That doesn't make any sense. So that's a close-up look at those bullets. All right, I'm about 12 yards from the target. I'm just gonna do some really quick rapid fire practical shootability going on. You might see I have a glove here. You might have noticed when I was doing the ballistic testing, my thumb was kind of going up, and that's because on the 44 Magnum, it was burning my thumb pretty bad. So I'm trying to get a little protection here on my hand from that blast coming out from the cylinder gap. So 357 Mag, I'm just gonna get a sight picture, pop them off, see how they feel for controllability. Those hit pretty hard. Yeah, those feel pretty good. I pulled one a little bit to the left, that's just me. With our 44 Mag, yeah, a lot of people say you can't get follow-up shots with these, you'll miss everything because the first shot's up here. I've had to deal with those comments for years, but let's see what I can do with these. You just gotta let it come back down on target, and if you do that, you'll be fine. So let me back it up a little bit and shoot from some little more distance. All right, 75 yards from the target. Why not? These are hunting rounds. Now, ideally, I would not be using a 4-inch revolver to hunt with. I've hunted with a 44 Mag before and a handgun. Didn't do very well. I've taken a few deer with rifles and shotguns, but never with a handgun. But if I was going to hunt with a handgun, this would not be ideal, but it'd be a lot better than a snub-nose revolver. So if I was going to try to shoot a deer or something, I would definitely go single action. So let's pretend my steel down there is the body of a deer, and I'm taking some single action shots with these. So 357 Magnum, see what I can do. Missed one. They might just be shooting a little bit left for me. I'll try another one single action. Yeah, I had to aim a little bit to the right to hit more center. Alright, so overall those shoot pretty good. Now, Let's see what I can do here with our 44 mag. This is a little more of a challenge. A lot more recoil. Theoretically, on single action, I should do just as well, but you know, I got something going on in my thumb joint here from my rheumatoid arthritis today. It doesn't feel good. I got something going on in my arm here. Same issues going on. A lot of pain lifting my arm. And it's burning my thumb. So those are all things that kind of contribute to me flinching just a little bit today. But I'll try not to. We'll go single action, see if I can make any hits. That hit, and that hit hard. Flinching. I actually see grass up there about 20 feet, 25 feet moving from the blast. So that's got a lot of powder and a lot of blast going on in there. So I'll keep going. So I think they were possibly consistently hitting to the right, but I'm not sure. My thumb is very warm right now. It prevented the actual burning, but I can actually feel a lot of heat. Yeah, the entire thing is warm. So that's a warm load, even through my glove. It looks like this has happened before. It blows a hole through the fabric and still gets a little bit on there. So 44 Magnum, quite a bit of blast. I think part of that is it's a Model 69, and this particular model, it's just the tolerances are really tight to fit into an L frame. So case ejection's off. A lot of times the blast just seems like it hits you a little bit more because the frame is closer to your thumbs. So what I'm seeing today with this ammunition test, and I generally am testing it as a self-defense cartridge, is that yeah, we had some weird performance with our 44 mag. With the 357 mag, I'm going to say that's fine. Even with the lack of expansion that we had through our medium density fiberboard and denim, we did not get extreme over penetration. So looking at both the plain gel shot and the shot through the more real world simulation, we had okay penetration. And on top of that, for a 357 mag, it has a lot less blast than typical, and a little bit less actual felt recoil, even though the muzzles jumps a lot. On the 44 mag, even though it's the same bullet weight, we have completely the opposite effect, and that's because, you know, that 357 mag being a 180 grain, it's got a long bullet, and it's sealing that forcing cone gap between the cylinder and the barrel for a lot longer time. So essentially, it's a very efficient round in that regard. You're not losing a lot of its power that it has to work with. So you can have that low recoil and still get about as powerful as you can get with that particular load. And it shoots real nice. 44 mag is the opposite. That 180 grain being a 429 diameter is a very short bullet. It's left that case. It's left that cylinder. It's in the bore of that revolver before all that excessive powder goes in there, which results in a massive amount of powder loss, a massive amount of gas loss off the cylinder gap. If I had to take an educated guess here, I would say our 357 Magnum, you're probably losing 1% of your potential power, if you know, compared to a gun that doesn't have a cylinder gap, like a single shot pistol or something like that with the same amount of barrel travel. You're probably losing 1% of your potential power with that 357 Magnum. As where our 44 Magnum, we're getting up there, my educated guess would say 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% of its potential power is lost through that cylinder gap. So, you know, that's something to think about. And our 44 Magnum, the whole point of a 180 grain a lot of times is to get less muzzle rise and less muzzle flip. And yeah, I'd say there's a little bit less. Once we go up to a 240 grain full power load, I generally start to feel it in my wrist and arm, where you can feel that recoil start to hit these joints. When it's a 180 grain, it's like it goes through less of my arm. It goes to here and stops with what I feel. As we're 240 grain, I feel it up here. 300 grain, I feel it up here. You know what I'm saying? So it's a reduction in recoil with a 180 grain versus a heavier bullet, but then you also have to deal with all that excessive blast. And the other problem with that 44 mag is, why did that one go through completely through 39 inches of gel and keep going? That was really odd to me. So for me personally, I would not use this 44 mag for self-defense, but you know, it's really designed for hunting. I think it would do fine then, because you want good penetration. A 357 mag, on the other hand, I wouldn't necessarily use it for hunting, because if I was going to hunt with something like this, I'd probably go for a 158 grain, so I can get, you know, rather than, you know, 480 foot-pounds of energy, I'd use like a Buffalo Bore 158 grain, where even at that 4-inch barrel, we're hitting 700 foot-pounds of energy. Makes a lot more sense to me. But as a personal defense round, I think the 357 mag actually is a viable option. And so is the 44, but I think there's better options for the 44. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.